Hey guys, today we're going to finish drawing Spider-Man using inks and Copic markers. If you missed the first video, click here. So first we're going to grab the Copic Cool Gray sketch marker, the C3, and we're going to start coloring in Spidey around his face area, and we're going to leave the outer rim lit part of him just white for now. And we're not going to touch it because he's going to be backlit, meaning the light source will be coming from behind him. And when that's the case on your subject, you want to just color the middle section of your figure and leave the outer part of him light. The nickname for it is rim lit. So we're going to rim light Spidey. And just fill it in all the areas that will have no light on it. And I'm going to erase more of the Prismacolor Cool Erase Blue pencil lines, and gonna grab my ink brush, and you can use any ink brush, it doesn't matter as long as it has a thin tip. You could even use the Micron inking pens or the Copic multi-liner pens. And take my time, never rush when you're inking. Never want to do that. And just go slowly. Now grabbing the C5 Cool Gray sketch marker, we're going to darken in this core shadow area. And then I'm going to grab the C4 because I think the C5 is kind of too dark. So, and just color in. And it's a good idea to try and test your markers on a different scratch sheet of paper before you permanently put them on your finished drawing, because once they're down there, they're down there. And we're going to make that outermost part of the shadow darker, and I'm going to give him some like furrowed brow lines, some darker areas right there between his eyes. I'm going to go back over that area because I want the area right out at the outermost edge of the shadow to be the darkest, and I think that's called a core shadow. Now it's time to put down the rough layout of his webbing, and you can look at any picture of Spider-Man to see what the pattern is on his webbing. And I want to use my Cool Erase red pencil to put it in there lightly, just in case I'm not able to erase them later on, which I don't think I'll need to erase them at all. And flesh out more of his face here and go around. And now putting the pattern down on his uniform, his costume rather. Make sure your lines curve with the figure. Notice how I'm curving the lines on his webbing out to match the curvature, or to show the curvature of his chest area. Now I'm going to go back to our Copic markers, and I want to darken in the blue part of his costume. So this is a black and white picture, but I'm going to just go with, black to fill in that blue part of his costume. I could go with a dark gray Copic, but you can use black. It doesn't matter. People know Spider-Man. He's easily recognizable. And then back to my brush pen. Now it's time to start inking the outer line of the figure, and take your time with it, no rush, because once the ink is down, it's down. And just go slow and turn your page to accommodate the curvature of your arm and your hand and your wrist and how you sketch. I always turn my drawings. Now with the Copic multi-liner, the 0.7, we're going to use this to draw in the blacks of his other eye, and you can use whatever inking tool that you feel most comfortable with, either thin inking brushes or the inking pens. It doesn't matter, whatever you feel like doing, whatever you're most comfortable with, and whichever will give you the result that you're looking for in your drawings. And finish filling this in. I'm going to leave the highlights white above his eyes. And for his spider on his costume, that's drawn differently. So you can find out whichever one you like online by looking at some Spider-Man reference that's out there. I'll put the legs on the spider. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Now going back to our Copic multi-liner, the 0.7, we're going to add in the inks for his webbing. So the Copic the Copic 0.7 multi-liner, it's thin enough to put the thin lines on his webbing. Make sure whatever utensil you choose for his webbing is super thin. You don't want to use a brush pen for this because you may get thick and thin lines. But Spidey's webbing is uniform. It's the same line thickness all across. And step back, take a look at the drawing, see how it's coming together. And using a darker Copic grayscale marker to put in his shadow under his chin. And you want to be careful on how you use the markers blending with the inks, because you don't want the Copics, the wetness of the Copics, to smear the inks on there on your drawing. So now I'm going to go back and put more webbing. And if you see an area like I just saw with the area under his chin, it needed some more marker rendering on there. So I went back and just put that on there before going over the ink with the inks. So if you can, please put the Copics down first and then put the inks on top. I was recently talking with Todd Knock, the artist who draws Nightcrawler, and he was telling me that I believe the Sakura Micron inking pens, if you can ink with those on a specific kind of paper, and then you can put the Copics on top of those inks. So I have yet to try that out. If any of you have had a chance to try that, let me know how that works for you. I haven't tested that out myself just yet, but I am anxious to try it. And so now going for his eyes. I want his eyes to really pop with a, contrast, shine, and rendering on them. So I'm gonna use this light C2 to put that shadow on there, and then go a little bit darker on the outer edges to give it that feel like they're in shadow and the outer rim light is affecting them. And now to make the drawing pop with this white inking pen, when you have the black lines on his webbing, adding this white line next to the black lines really shows contrast, and it shows that it's actual grooves in his webbing costume. You don't want to put it on every single black line on his costume, but you do want to go ahead and put it in just certain parts to make the drawing just pop off the page, and it shows that the costume has depth and texture to it. Notice how I'm just putting it near the darker parts of the darkest gray shadowed areas. You don't have to put it all over, just use it sparingly, because too much will be overkill. Now it's time to put in some backgrounds, just some simple abstract background, nothing fancy. You don't want to fill the background in fully, just give it some kind of pattern, just scribble scrabble pattern. Now I'm going to take a look at it. It's coming together, and with the white gel pen, you want to go ahead and make him separate from the background by putting a thin white line around him. You don't have to do this, but I like doing this with my ink drawings and Copic marker sketches. And this is the Sakura Jelly Roll inking pen. And now with the Presto Whiteout, which you can purchase at any office supply store, I'm going to go ahead and put the shine on his eyes. And this really makes the drawing come to life after you put these white highlights on it. and finish up with some more rendering with the inking pen, the multi-liner pen, and his eyes. Yeah, that looks much better. Clean it up somewhat, and I think that about does it. Have you guys had a chance to do your own Copic grayscale marker rendering? If so, let me know. Thanks for watching. Real quick, I wanted to thank everyone who supported my hardcover sketchbook. If you missed it, you can order the iPad or smartphone version here. Thanks a lot.